Another day, another component overview video here on Diagonal Move. Hi there, my name's Neil and welcome to the channel, or welcome back if this is not your first time here. Today I'm going to be taking a look at what's inside the box of Blocks in Africa, a block war game set during the North African front of World War II. The box is a large, oversized box. Quite big. It probably will not fit on my shelf, so I'll have to find a new home for it. So the game itself is actually an older game. I believe it was released originally back in 2014, but it may be mistaken. And it's the third part of a trilogy of games. There's Blocks in the West, Blocks in the East, and this one. That can be played either as standalone games or as a combined campaign. So this is the only one I've got. I'm relatively new to the series, having discovered it a few weeks ago when I was surfing the web for some new games with the shelf of opportunity. The publisher is Ventonuovo Games, and I believe the designer may be Emmanuel Santandrea. The game is a big game. The map here is the map that is available in this box, and then down here we have what the combined map would look like, and this box is oversized because of the size of the map. But on the back of the box we do have some blurb, descriptive text around the history of the North African campaign, the fact that Italian leader Benito Mussolini joined the war on the German side in an opportunistic fashion in order to get some glory, according to the back of the box here. However, it soon became clear that this was probably not the best thing they could have done, because they became rapidly embroiled in the remainder of the war as well. The game covers the entirety of the North African campaign, is my understanding, and we will have scenarios that play around the southern Mediterranean and into the Middle East, although the rest of the map does show southern Europe, Greece, and parts of Turkey, Iraq, and the Black Sea. The rules are divided into two sections according to the box here. We have the basic rules, which gives you the concepts and enables you to start playing without too many rules, and then there is the advanced rules, which provides much more realism apparently. Scale-wise, the hex is 44 miles or 70 kilometers across. A game turn is representing 1 month of real time, and units represent major military formations of approximately 30,000 men, 300 tanks or 300 planes. This is a strategic scale game, I believe. It's designed primarily for 2 players, but you can play solitaire or in a team if you wish to. There are 10 scenarios listed on the back of the box here, and it would appear a great big list of components. So let's check out those components now. Pop the box to one side. I can find space for it. And here we have what is inside that box. And the box is that size because of the map. The map is quite large. But in addition to a map, which I'll look at in much more detail in a moment, we do have blocks of various colours and various sizes, it seems. Let's get some of these out. So yeah, I mean, they're wooden blocks. What more can I say? We do have white ones here, whitish ones, and obviously you'll place some stickers on those. This being only the second war game in my collection, the other one being another recent edition set in medieval Japan. There are green blocks as well, slightly fewer of those. I won't get them all out. Brown blocks. A mix of pinky purple and orange. There are some black blocks, and then some blue. In fact, 2 shades of blue. And these are all the same size. So I believe these represent the units in the game primarily. And then finally, there are some grey of that similar size. So there's plenty of blocks, tons of blocks that I'm sure you'll have fun stickering. But in addition to those blocks, we also have cubes. Well, cubes and blocks here of different colours and types, and a whole bag full of additional cubes. So these are going to represent production, I think it's production in the game, and these counters here I suspect are to do with admin turns, that kind of thing, rather than a unit in and of themselves. But we don't just have pieces of wood, because we do also have these cool little, I want to call them minis, but they're not really minis. They're little plastic pieces in the shape of factories and oil barrels, and then we have a bunch of these little dice as well. 5 of these little dice. So these are presumably the industry and the supply. Once I get those back into the bag, we'll have a look at the rulebook. So the rulebook itself is about an A4 size, as you'd expect. It is quite a complex game, I would say. Even the basic rules, which are the beginning of the rulebook and do take up most of the rulebook, if I'm reading it correctly, they do does nevertheless cover quite a lot of detail within the game. And we have a little warning here saying, before playing the long and exciting 1939 campaign or one of the Blocks in Europe scenarios, become familiar with the basic rules and play each Blocks in Africa scenario at least twice, and then replay each one at least twice with the advanced rules. Now, here's an interesting thing, because it's talking about the 1939 campaign and the Blocks in Europe campaigns. Now, those campaigns are not in this game. They have the, I'll show you in a moment, the rules and the scenarios, but the actual components are in Blocks in the East and Blocks in the West, is my understanding. So some of what you get in this box is not playable without having the other 2 games in the series, which I didn't actually realise when I purchased it, but you know, we live and learn in that respect. And in fact, there's a couple of things here with asterisk marks which show you the things which are definitely not used in the Blocks in Africa part of this box set. List of definitions, as well as various bits of information about production and how you control hexes. There's an abstraction for the strategic scale. It's Africa, spelt with a K, because it is comprising both Africa as the continent and parts of the Middle East as well. There's a guide to the units with various units from various parts of Africa, and also from other regions or other countries in the region. We're talking about supply here. Some nice illustrations that sort of have this sort of style to the illustrations. I don't know how best to describe it. Very bright, bold colours. Lots of detail, though, lots of detail. I imagine this is easily as detailed as some of those bigger boxed games by other companies or more well-known companies within the wargame world. This is my first game from Ventonuovo Games. But you have the the sequence of play here, talking about weather, and then the Axis player rolls through 10 different phases before the Allies have their turn, and then there's a victory phase. So yeah, plenty of going on even in this basic game. Strategic rail movement, ground movement, sea transport, reactions, plenty of page space for combat and special cases. And then finally on page 17 we do begin the advanced rules. So yeah, the basic rules are quite a lot. But in the advanced rules we have advanced supply, fuel and supply for HQ units, HQ action point activations, quite a lot of stuff. Actually, as mentioned here, of various leaders, including Churchill, Mussolini, Hitler, Goering, and I believe some of them are off map, so they're sort of here in spirit but not in the set, if you know what I mean, or maybe not. There's reconnaissance and Jericho trumpets, panzers, cavalry charges, a whole bunch of extra things in the advanced game, which add that little bit more detail to what already seems like a fairly detailed game to me. Maybe I'm labouring that point, I don't know, but I certainly, in my head, a basic game is somewhat less detailed. But that's probably my non-wargamer side of me coming through. And there's a whole section here on the naval rules, because this does include 4 naval scenarios where you just deal with the the naval combat. And then finally we have the scenarios. The scenarios, when I've been trying to read through the rulebook up to now, are they're not the most easy to grasp. I haven't read the whole rulebook, but on a quick glance, it seems like this box here represents 2 scenarios. You have a setup for the Operation Exporter, which seems to be a training scenario almost. And then we have the Middle East Uprising, which is a much bigger scenario with a bit of introduction of some of the more strategic elements like the production and so on. And then we have these bigger scenarios looking at Operation Compass, the Desert Fox, Tobruk, El Alamein. And then on the back we have naval scenarios, which details the ships that are going to be involved in the naval scenarios, and also some historical information. And interestingly, the scenario setup is positioned on the game. So you have the Italians one side and the Commonwealth or the UK forces this side, which is interesting. I suppose it's so that each player can set up at the same time. It's a intriguing one to sort of get to look at when you first see it though. Also, we have play rates. This player aid is actually double-sided. Yeah, this is the other thing. We have a big map, but then we have a smaller map to go with the big map, and this has the turn track. It looks like it's sunny, unsurprisingly, in Africa, and we have the Tripoli region, and this is an extension that goes on the side of the actual game map, but just to add that sort of southern extension to the North African coast. And then there's some detail on the back to do with the naval units and some of the various bits and bobs that you'll be doing. Buildable factories, radar stations, various other things like that. Moving on, look at the stickers in more detail in just a moment, but there is another player aid with various charts. This one's much more black and white on the back, at least, with the various symbols for the NATO symbols, and then the tech level details and development chart, which seems really interesting as well. That you can sort of, I almost get the sense you can almost upgrade some of these units, or you can have different quality of units based on where you are on the tree. So that's all very interesting. I mean, I think it's going to take a fair bit of reading of those rules to really get to grips with it. But, you know, it's a war game. That's what you expect going in, I guess. But it certainly seems to be an interesting take on this kind of game. Obviously, I'm coming to this for the first time. The game is quite old, so it may be old hat to people who've played the games like this before, back when they were first released. But here we have the terrain effects and so on, and a guide to the coastline and what counts as what there with the coastal hexes, the forest hexes, various other things. Is like a supply box or something for the Eastern Mediterranean ships, and so on. Okay, stickers. There are less stickers than I thought, to be honest. I thought there'd be many more stickers given the size of the size or the volume of the blocks, but I think you only sticker one side. I think you can see I've been trying to get my head around this game a little bit as I've been sort of looking through the contents, and yeah, there's plenty in it that perplexes me at the moment, but then, you know, I will come across that I guess as I play through these sorts of games. One of the things that perplexes me is I believe we have the Greek forces here. Apologies in advance if that's actually the flag of another country, but I believe that's Greek forces. I didn't think the Greek forces were in North Africa, looking at the scenarios we just went through, and I believe they might be Swedish. So that's intriguing, and I just wonder whether some of these stickers are for the combined blocks in Europe, the combined trilogy of games, and they're not actually used in these scenarios specific to the African campaign. I do wonder that, because I suspect there's quite a lot in here that is specific to the combined scenarios. But we do have, you know, a string of forces in multiple different colours. We have a whole host of naval forces. There's some submarines, leaders as well, although they're labelled turn markers. They look like fortresses, possibly, those ones there with Crete, Athens and Thessalonica. Then we have the Air Force at the top there, at the top left. So yeah, quite nice stickers, and they feel quite. I believe on the back it says they're made out of PVC or something, but yeah, they certainly feel a bit more thick than some of the stickers that you usually find, or that I've seen previously when I think of stickers for games. Okay, so that's the stuff that I think is for the Blocks in Afrika game. Now, I may be incorrect, but bear with me. So I've separated them out with this divider. This is what the contents comes in, by the way. It's not just there for effect. It does actually come with this bag. But the rest of the bits here, with the exception of the map, I believe relates to the ability to combine this game with Blocks in the West and Blocks in the East, because we have player aids for the Red Army, we have Germany and Romania, which sounds very East Front. We have the 1939 campaign setup with Italy, information about France, Gibraltar falling, which is interesting, and various other things, which just seems to be beyond the scope of North Africa or even the Mediterranean, some of it. There's a strategic map of the whole of the African and European continents, and also some parts of Asia, double-sided it seems. We do also have Barbarossa. Obviously that's not going to be part of North Africa. So yeah, I do think there's a fair chunk of this box dedicated to being able to play the North Africa game in combination with the other two games in the series. So I think that's a thing to bear in mind if, like me, you're coming to this series for the first time. But I mean, the stuff is decent quality stuff. It's really good quality stuff. It certainly looks like and there's America here, interesting take on strategic war games throughout the whole of the Western war, it seems. And here with the Blocks in Europe, here we go. Let's start with this one. This is the 7-turn rules, 7-turn scenarios rules manual for 1941 through to 44. So this is a whole other rule book. I won't go through this in so much detail because, to be honest, I don't have the other games, so I probably won't be using this unless I choose to buy those in the future date. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of rules here and scenarios relating to combining the games. Scenarios do we have? Actually, is there a list? Maybe I could just show the list. No, not immediately jumping out at me where the scenarios are listed. I'm sure they're there somewhere. But these are more like rules. Yeah, here we go. This is the scenario book. So this is the additional rule book for combining the three games. This is the scenario. The campaign game is 1939 from Danzig to Hell, and then you have various scenarios. And yeah, you can see at a very quick glance that this is a much bigger game setup than anything that would be just in this one box. It's like Short Downfall, which looks like quite a broad game. You've got Bulgaria, Slovakia, Romania, Spain and Turkey. Tiebreak is another scenario. Axis, Hype, Lebensraum. And then I think we do get into the main 1939 campaign, which looks huge. I mean, just look at all the different forces in here: Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Sweden, Finland, Italy, Iraq, Persia. There's just so much stuff in here that I think if you did have all the games, you would have a real beast of a game in your hands. However, let's have a look at the map, because this is a really nice map. I'm just going to move things out of the way so we can see it a bit more clearly. But it's not made out of paper, it's actually made out of card. And we call it map board. And it's fairly large. I mean, I've got a decent sized coffee table here, but we're taking up a fair amount of the space. So you're looking at full map sheet size at a minimum, and then you'd have that other scenario card on the side as well, wherever I've put it. Yeah, so this would fit sort of on the side, just about squeezes onto my table, let alone on screen, but it would fit on the side here. And the map itself covers the very edge of North Africa up into the Middle East and Iraq, and then we have the Turkey, region of Turkey, the Black Sea, Greece, and up into Romania and Hungary, and the very bottom of Russia there, or the Soviet Union as was. So there's clearly far more scope here than just North Africa, which is interesting, and I don't know. I haven't played it yet, but my initial impression is this box is focused on the bigger campaign rather than North Africa. But let's not jump to conclusions, because this is a jam-packed box, and there's tons of game in here for sure. And this map is lovely, and the components throughout are great. They're really nice components, and this is a really, it feels almost like a laminated card. So it's, and the fact that it's a map board is almost a halfway house between a paper map and a mounted. So you have that kind of steadiness of a mounted map, but with the elements of the paper map as well, which is going to need plexiglass. So that's a strange one. But nevertheless, this is a great map. There's no hex numbers, but there's tons of really nice features on here. Like the towns are drawn on. You know, some of them are dots, but some of the major ones are drawn on. Got railways, I believe they're railways, all the different roads and so on. It's a really nice map, and I imagine if this was just one part of a bigger map with the west on the top left, I guess, and then the east front above, this would be a hugely impressive board to play a game on. And yeah, it's really cool. You probably tell I like maps and colourful, detailed maps. So okay, I think I will probably stop there. This video's gone on somewhat longer than anticipated, but hopefully you got a good overview of what's inside this very intriguing game. Hopefully I will get a playthrough up at some point, but I suspect it may take me a little bit of time to get my head around the rules and enough games under my belt to give it a real do it justice, shall we say. Okay, hopefully that has helped, and I will see you next time. Like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff, and take care.